Hi everybody, it's Steve Grizzetti, co-founder of MoviePix.com and author of the MoviePix.com Guide to Vegas Movie Studio Platinum. And here we are at Movie Studio Platinum, creating the very cool Zoom video Brady Bunch grid effect, where we have 4 characters or 4 different videos on screen interacting with each other in sort of a video collage. Now, we created this in part 1, the basics of it, but let's add a little enhancement to it. Right now, when each of the actors appears or each of the videos appears, it just sort of pops on screen.
What a dream. Row, row, row.
It'll be a little more interesting if we had some sort of transition when they popped in, and I'll show you how to do that. Let's go back to the very beginning of the timeline, and I'm going to select the event here that's on the very first video track, or the lowermost video track, and I'm going to zoom in by pressing the up arrow a couple of times on my keyboard, and I can see, actually looking at that timeline, I can see where she starts singing, and there's actually a small gap of a fraction of a second before she starts singing. That's going to be our transitional segment. So with the playhead in that position, I'm going to reopen the hamburger menu by going over to the video track header on the left, open up track motion, and you notice that these little diamonds here on the left appear at the beginning of every timeline. This is part of keyframing, and these are the default keyframes. Whatever you do to your video with regards to track motion, you'll want your playhead to be on top of those in the beginning at least, because that's going to set the track position for the entire video track. We now want to create some animation. So with my playhead positioned right where it is, I want to make sure that I have sync cursor selected and turned on here also, so that the cursor in my little track motion panel is in the same position as it is on the timeline. All right, so I've got it right there. That's a fraction of a second in, and I'm going to click on add keyframe or create keyframe. This keyframe for position now represents this position that the girl is in the video frame. Now I'm going to jump back to that default keyframe, and I'm going to do that by pressing the first keyframe or the jump back keyframe button here. That jumps me back to it, and now I can modify that keyframe, and I'm going to modify it by changing the width of my track to 0. So in this first keyframe, we are at 0. You can't see anything on screen, but a fraction of the second in, the girl will appear at 1000 pixels wide. So it looks something like this.
Row, row, row.
Okay, you see how she transitioned in there? There we go. That's me scrubbing through it here. And I'm going to do the same thing at the end of her video clip. So let's find the end of her video clip. Let's do the same thing, only backwards. I'm going to position the playhead to right when she stops singing. I'm going to create a keyframe. This keyframe is going to represent, again, the current position and size she is in the video frame. And then I'm going to move the playhead just that fraction of a second to the right. And I'm going to, again, set the width to 0. So see what we've done? She zooms in and appears in the video frame, and at the end of the video, she zooms out and disappears. And I'm going to apply that same animation to every one of these video clips. So I'm just going to go to the beginning of each one. I'm going to position, let me close that window. I'm going to position my playhead to right before the person starts singing. Go to the track header, open up from the hamburger menu, track motion. I'm going to create the keyframe, and then I'm going to jump back to the previous keyframe and set the size to 0. Now this guy, or this video clip, is going to actually transition in. So he's not just going to pop in, but he's going to kind of appear. I'm going to do that to each one of them, have them each zoom in at the beginning, and then at the end they'll zoom out and disappear. And that just adds a little more animation, a little more excitement. We could actually do any kind of animation we wanted. We could start out with the girl at full screen, and then she zooms down to that position. We could have each of the characters as they pop in be at full screen and then zoom back. But the effect is kind of cool because it adds a little bit of life, a little bit of motion to all the other stuff that's going on. So here again is what the clip essentially looks like.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row,
and our next
row
singer
your
zooms
boat
in.
gently down the stream. life is but a dream.
They each zoom in, and then at the end they zoom out. So it's a pretty cool effect. Like I say, it's very popular to create this type of effect. And I think it's because we all spent so much of this year on Zoom calls. But that's how you create the basic video collage with a little bit of enhancement with some animation and transition in there too. You want to know more about how to work with this program? You want to know everything about how to work with this program? Stop by moviepix.com and check out our tips and tutorials. If you want to know every single thing about this program, you want to check out the very concise and complete moviepix.com guide to Vegas Movie Studio Platinum. It's available at amazon.com, and I'm the author. I'm Steve Grizzetti. Hope to see you again real soon. Take care.